Hello, thank you so much for joining us for another Tech Tips with your Navigators at the TLC. Today we've got a very important person that can make your life so much easier. This is Miss Mary Taylor Huntsman. She has a Master's of Arts in U.S. History, a Master of Science in Library Science, and she has worked with higher education for the last 27 years. And through that time, she has worked herself through. She done 40 hours a week trying to get her grad school, her master's degrees. So she understands the importance of using time and technology wisely, and she's made that part of her life studies. So today she's going to share with us those tips that's going to make your searches for your resources better for what you need it to be and make it so much more manageable. So Mary Taylor, if you'd please take it away, we sure would appreciate it.
This is going to be interesting. It's been a while since I have actually presented anything. So let me see. Are we seeing my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty, thank you. Okay, well, we don't have a whole lot of time, so we're going to jump right in. Today's session is about refining searches. We had a previous session with our e-resources and health sciences librarian, Julie Howe, and that was on basic searching with a few extra little tweaks. So today we're going to try to make angels dance on the head of a pin. This is the college homepage. If you have limited data in your plan at home, you might want to actually set a different default landing point within our website. This little video is going to eat your data pretty fast. So, and once you've seen it, you know what it is. So moving on from that, for students, you have a current student link. And you have to kind of scroll down to get to the primary content. But when you see the bookcases, you've gotten to us. Now, the Learning Commons is a larger unit than just the library. The library is a part of the Learning Commons, but we are co-located with a lot of services. The Navigators are resident in our building in Somerset, and we'll be moving in with Julie down at our facility in Laurel sometime in the next several months. So these tiles represent all the different services you're going to find inside our building or our room. So how you can find us physically, how you can get hold of us. Please use the text, chat, or email to contact us. You can also phone. But what we're looking at today is need to find library sources. We tried to name these links so they would make sense to students, and that's how we came up with need to find library sources. We thought that was pretty direct. And here are some more helpful links. You can chat with us. There's somebody live on that chat system every day during our open hours. You can also make an appointment with a librarian for research assistance, which is different from making a tutoring appointment. Tutors help you refine the project that you're working on or work through issues in math and sciences. We actually help you with what we're covering today. And then this is our Research 101 Learning Guide. We've taken all of the major pointers for things that you would use in an English 101, typically also perhaps a COM 181, or in an FYE course. So those basic tricks and techniques can be reinforced or revisited through this guide. And Julie has just made a very brief video on how to begin searching that has been added to the guide. That went up yesterday. And if you need to find it, just have a look at the guide. So on down the page, we have these things broken out: articles, ebooks, and videos. So those are actually the library databases. Books and DVDs are in our catalog system. There is a single search point for that, and if you were in Ms. Howe's session, you'll know that Primo is that tool. And this one is not as useful for the majority of undergraduates, but in programs where you have been assigned specific reading lists and you can only use specific journal titles, this little list will take you to all of our full text journals. And when I say full text, that means that you can print it out from the database when you find it. So this is especially prevalent in the health sciences. You can only use 5 years worth, and you can actually see what years are available online. So this isn't going to work. We still take a paper subscription to nursing because it stops at the latest at 2007 in the databases. So we have the intervening years here, or the years that we don't have on the shelf, I can order for you through something called interlibrary loan. With books, it's taking a week to 2 weeks to get them here from other libraries, but with articles, as from nursing and other journals, I can usually get those in 24 to 48 hours. It just depends on how fast the other library uploads it. And it's a completely electronic process. But what these links mean, they're live. If you have a title and you need to go to the database and look at the title, there's the publication information. Here are all the years that are included. Now, this only went up to 2007 as full text, but usually you will be assigned an article from a specific date, and you'll have your volume number, your issue number, and the date. That will help you locate the particular article really quickly from using this link. Otherwise, there are ways you can set that up from our search interface, but they're really convoluted. This is probably the fastest and the least messy. And if you have any questions, if you would throw those in the chat, other folks can see that. I can't because I'm sharing my screen. But Michelle, if you would, if I get any questions, if you would relay those to me, please, I'll try to answer them as best I can.
Yes, ma'am.
So we went to these images on that previous page so that all of the web pages throughout the entire KCTCS system look the same. But each library had a little bit of latitude in how they set it up after that page. So we actually have an accordion list. So we've had this for a while. If we come up with anything that we think is more effective or more user-friendly, we'll change it. But for now, this is going to stick around. And please, if the databases are not working, chat, text, call, email, let us know, because if it's something local, we can fix it. If it's something system level, we have to contact them. And there are just all kinds of weird little things that can happen to cause this. A lot of times, it's just as simple as changing your security settings on your computer. Your browser is locking you out of seeing the content. Other times it can be that our proxy server that lets you sign on with your username and password for your other accounts isn't functioning correctly. All sorts of stuff. So if it's not working, let us know. And in Ms. Howe's session, she covered materials under general research. And these are all solid, and I'll recommend these to you if you need to do something you have no idea where to start. If it is a topic that is currently in the public eye, this is opposing viewpoints from Gale. Gale is the company that publishes this database. And it is geared toward controversies and newsworthy things that are going on in the world today. You can actually search for content. And I'm trying to think of something innocuous. This isn't, but I know that they have a good content page on it. So we can do it this way. And this is a very simple search. The nice thing about opposing viewpoints is that it actually breaks out the different types of materials that you can get from it. These are reference articles from reference books published by Gale. They are a reputable reference publisher. They will link you to websites that they have curated very carefully. Statistics, news videos and audio, magazine articles, relevant images, and the viewpoint essays, which are actually unique to this particular product. It's a series, well, it's 3 series that they published for a number of years in print. But if you don't know how to frame your argument, this will give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you can go look at a few of those essays and try to figure out how you're going to frame an argument for your paper and where the attacks might come from. So those are unique and they're pretty useful. This is also an all full text database, so everything in all of this except for the media files can be printed off and walked away with. And something that you will always have access to throughout all of our database products, they will give you the opportunity to print, email, or save on a drive. So you don't have to necessarily kill all your trees with things that you may not use in your final project. So journals, newspaper articles, this is the only of our databases that includes New York Times content. Anything that you see a number here that's not streaming, like the video or the audio, you can walk away with right now. They also have this feature, Browse Issues. So if you search and you're not seeing a lot of content returned, you can actually go over and look at the greatest hits list. These databases are built on 2 types of file structure. One is the cataloging data or the file hierarchy that is previously established and considered logical for organizing library type materials. They also use the things that they see people searching in their database products to suggest what they need to build a new guide on. So factory farming has just been updated. Most of the factory farming that occurs in Kentucky, the vast majority of it is chickens and hogs. But this will deal with corporate ownership and high production farming, but primarily livestock. So if you wanted to attack this, like the previous example, here are all the different types. They have features. There's some sample images. This is Purdue. They're a big chicken producer. You will see signs at their corporate farms at the entrance to the road. There will be a Purdue sign or a Tyson sign most of the time. So you have a lot of information. It's already organized for you. The types are all broken out. Do not lean on this. Your instructors are not going to be happy if you try to get everything out of opposing viewpoints. And it's not always appropriate for everything. We also have Credo Reference, which is kind of cool because it will provide you mind maps that will give you all kinds of different suggestions of related topics. Let's see. Let's look at human nutrition really quickly. So we have encyclopedia article and different types, different sources, mostly things that would be encyclopedias or dictionaries, but there are also some regular articles in here. They have videos, they have images, and here's the mind map. Nutrition is the most generic term involved here. And then we have carbohydrates. If we click on that, it flips us over to the page on carbohydrates. And here are some very specific carbohydrates. And here's an issue that's related to that. And we can keep going all day. This is actually the drill down for blood sugar. Now, this database is nice in that it helps you visually. If you are a visual learner, you can use these maps to navigate around instead of doing a typed search. And it has taken us actually 2 degrees out from where we started with the nutrition topic. So we're to something very, very specific right now. Not all of them will do that, and that's kind of why we're here today in the session. Now, when we say database, we're not talking about one giant monolith. Databases can be very directed towards specific topics. That's why we have this huge menu. So we have newspaper source, which is national and international newspapers, and it's organized by article topic. Opposing viewpoints, which we just looked at because it has a newspaper section. Alternative press watch. If you question mainstream media and big newspapers, this might be something that you'd want to look at because this covers small press. And the Washington Post, which is provided by our system office. So if you are signed in through your account, you should be able to read the WAPO at home. Also, as an anecdote, one of our former history professors, Roger Tate, has a son who worked for the Washington Post on the Kentucky political desk for a number of years. If you're writing about businesses, or for instance, you want to write about drunk drivers, and you want to talk about how alcohol sales impact drunk driving, the industry is going to have things to say about that. So it may be worth looking at some of the business databases instead of just sticking with these big ones. Academic Search Complete from EBSCO has 70 some odd titles in it, and they cover all sorts of different things. They comprise the bulk of the stuff in this list, but there are actually 2 sets of databases to which we subscribe locally. A lot of libraries have them, but not everybody in KCTCS has the identical things that we have. We try to build this directed toward what our students are studying. And if you have done a paper on children and talked to a librarian here, we're probably going to suggest that you look at the education databases. No one studies children more. And the worst named database on the planet, Professional Development Collection. Now, ERIC. ERIC is one of the 2 oldest databases in the world. The other one is Medline. We have access to both. These go back to the early 1960s, like John F. Kennedy assassination era. So this is sort of the mother of them all for education databases. But one thing that I want to point out about it while we're here is that different databases in different disciplines have different vocabularies. The big general databases like Academic Search Premier have the Library of Congress subject headings as their first fundamental file structure. That's the same way we catalog books in the library. This, ERIC, has its own language. It has educational subject headings. So nobody's expecting you to learn all of those. But let me give you an example. As I typed that search, you saw extended searches popping up. That's based on things that people have searched a lot using those words initially. And that's a basic search. Now, we can go to the advanced search mode, which will let us apply a lot of different limiters. We have an education level. We have the intended audience. If we say parents, we're going to get different results than if we say administrators, guidance counselors, or teachers. We can also specify language because this database incorporates educational materials from all over the world. We can choose type. There are articles. There are ERIC journal documents, the journal article, or the document. And the way you can tell these apart readily is when you get results. An ERIC document will have ED and its number, and the journal will have EJ. And the journals come from all over the place. It's not the same as going into a regular article database. And here are the evidentiary standards. This is unique. So if your professor told you that it needs to meet evidence standards without reservations, that it is considered the absolute qualified opinion on the matter, then you would highlight that here and go back to the search. And I didn't have any results because school prayer is a really subjective thing. I can come back and I can take that off. Let me see. Let's go back to basic. And these are not natural language. It's not like Google where you can type in a sort of coherent phrase as you would think it and get a result. But this is actually index only. It doesn't have the full text with it. But we have a direct object identifier. This number is completely unique to this article. And what I'm showing you here actually is the descriptors. We can mine these to narrow down the search. So by clicking this, there's that same article again, but I did use one of the subject headings from it, this one, to produce those results. Other things we can do is limit to full text, which is going to drop everything off this list because ERIC isn't a full text database, and peer reviewed. These two are very important. Full text, you can walk away with it right now. Peer reviewed, if you've been told it has to be scholarly, you need to use that. All the databases are going to have those limits, but they'll just be located in a different spot. So you see here, EBSCO, 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 EBSCO. This is ProQuest, different producer. And another subscription, the Chronicle of Higher Education, for our faculty in attendance. You do have a free subscription through System, as long as you're logged into your account and accessing the library databases or the college website, you can reach the Chronicle free of additional charge. And it's the entire thing with the restricted articles. So ProQuest has a really pretty interface. It does all of the same things that the database we were looking at before with EBSCO does, but it's just a little bit nicer looking and user friendly. And you can also see there's an education database there. We have a huge bundle of health sciences. And I usually do these in an hour, so I don't have a whole lot of time. But let's see, environmental sciences. The databases don't always suggest themselves. If you want to write about climate change or green energy or electric cars, Greenfile would be a good place to look. If you get into a database and you need to change because you're not finding what you need, here's the master list for EBSCO, descriptions of each database if you hover on these speech bubbles. We can always do these as and or not. That's algebra. I didn't do a database to get into math, but it does. You're actually structuring this so the computer can recognize it. And you saw me do this earlier with another search. I put it in quotation marks. that binds a phrase. It actually indicates to the algorithm that this is a complete thought. It's not just two disparate terms, and it's going to control how the data is retrieved. And he's done a lot of really weird stuff, so we can throw in Tesla. We can limit our dates. We can go just to magazines. And we can also do publication date, peer-reviewed, which will be less. And this is actually very simple: space law, planetary engineering, and ethics. And especially in health sciences, you have a completely different vocabulary. So when you're looking at Medline or Senol, the subject headings are something called medical subject headings. It's MESH. Again, we don't expect you to learn those. You can run through these databases without knowing them. But also always keep in mind, and this is my last little tidbit for you, if you are throwing out natural language terms, and you don't get what you think you should, there's probably a more formal term, and you will get better results from going into the subject headings. And we are right at time or thereabouts. But it will also highlight wherever those turn up. And for Google and other search engines, using those quotation marks will get you where you need to go a lot faster. Building out the terms will narrow it down even further. You can do this in the databases and in a general search engine. And if you use Google Scholar, you can map that back over our databases. So, did I get any questions in chat?
You did not, but I believe it was fascination at all the stuff that could do that I didn't know that you could do half what you just showed me. And I've been in college, well, I'm done with it for a minute, but that was amazing. Thank you so very much.
Well, and I think because we're so focused on getting the basics in, sometimes we miss some of the really specialized things that we have, and it's not one size fits all. This will get you started because it's a whole lot of everything. But if you're doing education or health science or culinary, we have a culinary database. This is fine for starting point, but you have one that's dedicated to exactly what you're doing. And each one of them runs on the language of the discipline. So, and you don't have to guess that. You can actually mine those results and see what looks really close to what you were trying to get, and use that as the basis for branching out in your search. It's, you know, you have to be kind of a squirrel about it, but you can get it very narrow.
If I'm a student and I'm not real tech savvy, and I come in there and I just went to class and realized I didn't have enough sources for my big paper, and I'm really concerned because I've done all I think to do. If someone runs into the Learning Commons and they're just needing help before their next class to kind of figure out where to go, where would I go? What would be the place I would walk into and say, could you please help me? And someone say, shoot, yeah, let's do it.
You would need to stop at the service desk, and in Laurel right now, that's where Julie is, and in Somerset, it's where the boat is. But if you will tell whoever is working out there what's going on, a lot of times, at least in Somerset, it's not always a librarian. If you give them a good idea of what the need is, they will come and get one of us. You can also book appointments with a librarian.
That's wonderful. And do you ever have events to where you have study groups come in? Are you going to maybe try to do that as we reopen to where students can come and work on research papers together?
They can, and actually the new furniture will be very much conducive to working in groups or alone. We did have a study group yesterday in anatomy and physiology who brought their skeleton model with them. And not every day do I look up and see a student waving a thigh bone around. So it was not a real one, but they had come to study and there were 6 of them. So we have a regular study group that comes in the mornings that is 5 people. So yes, come on in. And if we need to talk to everybody, we can. We have J-touches. We can assemble the group in front of one and kind of walk through this for the group. And instructors can schedule formal sessions with us where we do a little bit more of this because we have just a little more time.
When that's something we could also offer the centers potentially with our instructors here through a J-touch program, would they be able to do that as well for those locations?
We have been providing online instruction and embedded librarians for a number of years, and it was really easy for us to transition to fully online offerings during the early part of the pandemic because we are pretty comfortable in this environment. And we've been doing streaming instruction for a while, and we can do it live, we can do it synchronous, we can do it asynchronously. And then there's also that Research 101 guide because it's a lot of stuff in a very short time. And, you know, the grocery list probably pushes some of this out because food is a necessary thing. So we've got things there to get you over the hump too.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. This was great information. Again, if you ever need to talk to Miss Mary Taylor, you go by the library, you check her email, you check her phone number. Everyone in that building there is there to support you academically in any which way we can. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we ask that you join us again next Thursday for another tech. Keep an eye out on all of our pages as we're going to be putting out important information as we get closer to the end of the semester and things that we hope to gear towards helping you complete your time with us successfully and get you where you need to go. Thank you again and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, everybody.